natural asymmetry of the horse, and I will show you all the dimensions of natural asymmetry. Let's take a look at this face. It's a painting, and the person on the left is the person, that's the person who we see every day. And when you copy the two left sides of the, if you copy the left side of the face, you will see the middle picture. And when you copy the right side of the face, you will end up with the right picture. So you see that not only we are left-right-handed, but our face is completely asymmetrical. And you can find on the internet some programs where you can do this with your face. So try it. But to make things clear for the horse, I put on this PowerPoint, and then you will understand that also the horse, his face, but his whole body is a kind of natural, it's natural asymmetrical. And we have a kind of 8 dimensions I discovered. Let's start with the first one, and that is the lateral asymmetry. And here you see a horse, a couple of horses that are left bended. So the horse has a natural bending to the left. And on the left side you find the short contracted muscles, and on the right side there you find the weaker, longer muscles. So this horse has a tendency to turn to the left and not to the right. And for example, if you would be lost in the desert, then everybody knows the story that the one who's walking in the desert, he will walk in rounds, and he will end up at the place where he started. And that's because we have also a tendency to walk a little bit to the left or to the right, and that is because of our asymmetric dimension. When you have a horse, it's so easy to recognize, because all our horses has a kind of chocolate side where he's smooth and very easy to ride, and the left circle, it's very easy to ride your horse on the left circle. But when you turn to the right, it's not easy at all. The horse will not yield to the bit and will be stiff in the neck and fall in on the inside shoulder, and there you have problems on the right side. So I have a picture of that. The symptoms, for example, when you have a left-bended horse, is that the horse is easy to the left and nice forward down, easy to bend, and the horse is totally in a relaxed state. And when you turn over to the difficult side, the horse keeps his head up, makes short strides, his tail is in the air, and all kinds of symptoms you have on the difficult side. And also you see very much this picture, that when a horse is left bended, he has a little bit short, stiff muscles on the left side, and on the right side the muscles are weaker and more not so stiff. and short. So the saddle and the rider have the tendency to go over to the right of the horse. So you will be sitting more on one side, and especially when the horse is walking to the left, you will be much more sitting to the right, and your stirrups will be like this. And of course you can do with your stirrup this, or make the saddle more straight, but that's not attacking the cause. That is dealing with the symptoms and do something about the symptoms. And when your stirrups are equal, that doesn't mean that your horse is straight. So of course it can be that your stirrups are not equal because you made a mistake, and of course your saddle can be really wrong, that it's not the same size when you look on top of the saddle, what's under the saddle, but you have to check that out, of course. But if everything is straight and the length of the stirrups are equal and the saddle is straight, then your horse is not straight, and then you have to deal with that and not making your stirrups shorter. So that's a little bit the bending to the left, and another really obvious symptom is that when a horse is left-banded, that he is very heavy on the right rein, and that he will not take contact on the left rein. So you have unequal contact to the reins. And most of us are right-handed, so we are strong in our right hand. So the horse is pulling on the bit and we are pulling back because we don't want that stiffness in the mouth, so we are jerking around. And when the horse will yield at the pressure of your strong right hand, then you could end up with an S in the spine of the horse, because his body will turn to the left and you make his head turning to the right, and then he will have a kind of S. So that's also a kind of dealing with the symptoms, so that you are attacking the symptoms, because the symptom is the horse is very heavy in the right rein and the right bit. So he feels very strong there, but it's not the mouth that is the problem. It is the whole body of the horse, the right side, that are the long muscles, and especially the problem is in the left side of the horse, because that short, stiff, strong muscles, these muscles are how do you call it? You meet those strong muscles in your right hand, because the horse will, well, let's do it like this, will have with his muscles made his head like this. So you have to, he has to stretch the short side to give you the bending to the right. So that's the problem, not the mouth of the horse, it is a muscle problem. And of course you can change the bit, and of course the bit could be the problem too, that it's not unequal. And of course you have to check the dentist, because that could also be the case that his teeth are unequal, or that he has some problems in his mouth with his teeth. But if you check that already, and if you change the bits all over a couple of times, and it will not change, the problem will not disappear, then it could be the strong left side of the horse that is fighting your right hand. So then the solution is to stretch those short muscles. And that's very important, that it's very difficult because horses cannot speak, that we cannot ask them what's the problem directly, though they don't give an answer. But you have to remember there is always an answer, and the horse is not fighting you, and the horse is not doing unpleasant things with the riding on purpose. Because he cannot speak, he can only talk to you with his behavior. And a horse is very simple. He chooses between pleasure and pain. And when he has some pain or things that he don't like, he wants to move over to the pleasure. But if he cannot do that because you want him things to do and you want to make him circles and things like that, then he can say, yeah, I want to do this for you, but I can't. It's simply because I can't with my muscles, and don't you understand? And then the horse, yeah, he has some things in his behavior that he can wake up you. He said it's just a wake-up call. When a horse is not nice to you, it's a wake-up call. He is saying, please help me to answer your question, but I cannot answer your question, so you have to change your question or help me answering it. And I think that's really important with horses, because horses went with Columbus from Spain to the United States, and 1 million English horses were fighting in World War I, helping people. Bucephalus, the horse from Alexander the Great, he walked millions of kilometers or miles. It's in English a lot of miles to conquer the world. The horses have done a lot for us. So it's very strange that our horse will not turn to the right. Such a simple thing when you see that in perspective, what Alexander the Great was doing, or the 1 million English horses where I was talking about. Horses want to do a lot for us, but we have to set the conditions right, and we have to understand the horse. So that's why I do this webinar, because I'm sure you who is watching this are familiar with the natural asymmetry, but maybe you invited a friend today that you say, okay, you have kind of problems, just watch the webinar, because maybe your eyes will open and then you think, oh well, I never thought that my horse was right-handed or left-handed, and now it explains a lot. And then your horse tomorrow say, thank you that you investigate in your knowledge and that you want to know me better, because I cannot speak, but yeah, it's our duty to build the bridge to the horse, to have the conditions that he can do what we want him to do. Because if we are very horse friendly, put him out in a field with a lot of other horses, and that they can make falls, and that they can eat grass and walk around and stay in a 300 miles distance and let them be horses. That's what a horse would like. But we want something from a horse. It's our choice that we want to ride him. It's not that natural, I think. But we want something with the horse. We like it. It's our. We like animals. It's the communication with the animals, and because we want something, well, then put the conditions right, that the horse says, okay, I can do this. What you asked me to do, I can do this. And when you will notice when you have your horse with other horses in the pasture that, for example, in the beginning of the education, your horse is a little bit timid horse and a little bit low in the rank in the group, but because of your you educate the horse will be more light and free in the movement, because his hindquarters are more strong, and he build up some muscles. So yeah, his whole posture and attitude, he will become more strong, and he will he will have a feel good. So his mind will change, and he will become more confident. And then I've noticed it before that some horses are really going higher in the ranking in their group of horses. So we're not only training the muscles of a horse, but also the mind, and we can make an unsure horse very confident, so that we can also give to a horse. And because we have to, because he is not straight, we cannot sit on him just like that. We have to help him to be more straight, and then he can then we can ride him more, he can carry us much more easily. Alright, let's dive into the second asymmetrical item of a horse, and that is the horizontal natural balance. And a horse is, by nature he walks with more weight on the front legs than on the hind legs. This is a good thing from nature. It's a good invention that a horse is walking like that. Because a horse is with his head down to the grass. And at some point the grass is away. He eats it and there's nothing left. So then he takes one step and there's some new fresh grass. So he's in a forward moving, eating the grass. And his locomotion is a little bit automatically, because the majority of the weight is on the front legs. It's a little bit like this, and at some point the horse has to make a step, because otherwise he will fall on his nose, to stay under the majority of the weight. So a kind of automatically movement will start, and that is just a law from Newton, I think. It has to do with gravity and things like that. But because the weight is more in front, the legs will follow that weight. And sometimes I have an example for you that you can imagine what I'm talking about. Because when you are walking in a shop, but you didn't see at the entrance from the door, it's a little bit higher. You have to step like this to come in the shop. But when you don't see it, you have your foot against it, and then you fall into the shop. And then you have to walk, make speed to not fall down, and to have your legs under your point of weight. And that's also that law of the gravity where I'm talking about, but that also generates motion with yourself. Perhaps it's a little bit stupid example, I hope you know what I mean. But the thing is, why is a horse in natural horizontal imbalance? So why does he bear more weight on the front legs? That is because it generates automatic locomotion, and that's easy for him because he's eating grass. And it would be not so a good idea when the weight was on the hindquarters that he should walk backwards, because perhaps he will make a little bit down from behind, and then he will meet that dung, and I don't think it's very nice to eat. So it's better for him that he walks forward. So that's the thing why a horse is in horizontal balance with his weight more on the front legs. But in freedom, in the pasture, it's a very big advantage for a horse. But when we are riding on the horse, it's our real enemy, this horizontal imbalance, because such a horse will feel very heavy in the hand, and sometimes it looks like the reins are a kind of fifth leg. And such horses, when you are riding them, especially in the trot, they will stumble a lot. And because your weight is perhaps, yeah, we talk in Holland about kilos, but you are talking in some other things, I don't know, but you have a weight, and that weight will be an extra weight on the front legs, because we're sitting more direction front legs than hind legs, so you can end up with overstraining of the front legs. That's not what we want. Because when we have overstraining with the front legs, when the horse has no legs and he is crippled and things like that, he cannot move and we cannot ride him. So the horse is in pain and we don't have the pleasure that we cannot ride him anymore. So we are also in pain, and for our horse, of course. So it's our duty to help him to use his hind legs more and to bring the point of weight more to the hind legs. And that's a thing that we achieve, of course, in the collection. And the collection you see in the piaffe or the canter pirouette, then the weight is much more in behind. But you don't need to do the piaffe tomorrow. But it's a goal you have to strive for. And I should not think anymore in the piaffe as some kind of fancy exercise that Grand Prix riders are doing, and yeah, it looks beautiful, but it's not for me. And that's not true, because I've seen Icelandic horses in the piaffe, fjord horses from Norway, cold blood trotters from Sweden. Our own Dutch Friesians can do the piaffe, but all kinds of horses can do the piaffe. And that's what we have to stop thinking in the way that you are not allowed to do a piaffe if you're not a Grand Prix rider. And you're not allowed to do a shoulder in or a quarter in exercise because you're not on that level in the competition sport. It's not a good idea to use the exercises because you are at some kind of level in the competition. But you have to use the exercises to make your horse stronger, and that he will use his hind legs much more. And I will talk about the shoulder in and the quarter in and the piaffe a little bit after the break. But we have to switch our minds that we are not having a horse for the dressage, but that all the dressage exercises are to make the horse more straight and bring the point of weight more back, that he will use his hind legs better. But I will talk about that later. And now let's go to the front legs, because like we are, also a horse is left-handed or right-handed. When you stand in behind of your horse, just look at the shoulders, and some shoulders are more has more muscles than the other one. And every horse has a better coordination in one leg or the other, one front leg or the other. And you already see it with the foals. foals have very long legs and a short neck. When they grow up, it will be in a better proportion, but the foals, they have to stand like this to reach the ground and to be able to eat the grass. And the foal does not think, oh, let's do it like this today and let's do it like that today. No, he always chooses the same to do it. And then this leg will be more flat, the hoof will be more flat, and the leg which is under him a little bit hanging like that is growing more in behind. So that hoof is not so flat. So when you not recognize this soon with your foal, and he stands out hour after hour, day after day for the first 1 year, then he could end up with a flat hoof and a more, I don't know how it's calling, but less flat. Then you have to deal with these symptoms with your hoof maker, and then he will try to change it a little bit. But now we have to know where it's coming from. But with the riding, it's also you can recognize that he's left or right-handed because he's falling on one shoulder very easy, because he has a good coordination with that, and he is strong with that leg. Some horses have navicular disease, and that is because of the overstraining of that handed leg. And especially if we're sitting on the horse, the handed leg will take the most of the weight. And then you can have problems with the, you can see it on the picture here, that mechanism in the hoof that can be destroyed with the ligaments and tendons and not so much muscles over there, of course, but you can have problems with the bones and the fluid in the hoof, and then the horse become crippled and is going to limp and shows irregular gait. Let's take a look at the front legs. When a horse weighs 500 kilo and 300 kilo is on the front legs, it could be that because he's handed with one leg, that 200 kilo he carries with his right leg and 100 kilo with his left foreleg. So that's unequal balance of weight. And then when you the most of the weight is on your right leg, then you make a little bit shorter step perhaps, or you become more irregular, because it's not easy walking with the not equal weight on the front legs. So what is our main goal with the dressage is to make him more handy with his other hand. But then I give you an exercise, because if you're right-handed, just write your name with your left hand, just as easy, quickly, smoothly as with your right hand. And that's not possible. You cannot write so easy with the left hand, or the mouse with the computer. Do it with your other hand. Or brush your teeth this evening with your other hand, and then find out that it's totally strange to do all the kind of things that you do so easy with your right hand, that you do it as easy with your left hand. But that's what we expect from horses. We expect that they just do like this do everything what they have to do on the right, they have to do it on the left. And you cannot ask that from a horse, especially also when he's left-banded and you want to stretch his left muscles so that he can bend to the right. Yeah, for example, like you and I do another exercise. Some young, fresh girls can sit with spread their legs like this. Well, I don't have to do that because I can't, but I can train it perhaps a little bit. And so I will do some stretching exercises. And after a few days, I can spread a little bit more, but not like this, but little by little, I get, I'm more supple in those muscles. But if a 7-year-old girl will start with that exercise, it goes much faster that she can do this exercise with her legs. But if you ask a 69-year-old woman who never done that in her life to stretch like that, well, that will take some time and perhaps it will never happen. She will never reach the point that she can really spread out like this. But a 7-year-old girl, perhaps she can do it after a few months already, or even faster. And that's the same with horses. So it's a good thing to start straightness training with young horses, because they're much more supple because they're young. And if you have an older horse, give the horse time and don't expect him that he will in one session of straightness training that he can spread his legs or that he can move as easy to the right as easy to the left. So we have to deal with the muscles. Okay, let's have a look at another asymmetric element of a horse, and that is that he has asymmetry in the hind legs. And also there you can see the difference in muscles in the left leg and the right legs. Some horses have really asymmetrical hind legs, and with some other horses you cannot see it so easy. But what is the case with the hind legs? That one hind leg is more pushing and one hind leg is more carrying. And you see this motoped, or I don't know how you call it in English, but I don't know if you have used such a thing, but I was always standing with my left leg on it and I pushed with my right leg. And I didn't switch that every day, and I did every day the same. And that's also with a horse. He will, with one hind leg, he will push more, and with the other hind leg, he will carry more or more easily. And the pushing hind leg is a little bit more stiff. So then you can end up with an unequal pelvis. You see it with the right horse. The left pelvis is a little bit higher, the left side of the pelvis, than the right side. So these unequal hind legs is a big thing for us to deal with. And from my experience, the bending in the body, that's not the main issue. That's quite easily you can stretch the short muscles. You can make that much more easily symmetrical than the hind legs, and especially the pushing hind legs. The pushing hind leg, that stiff, strong leg, that's not easy to make it bendable. And a lot of horses are bended to the right, to the left, and have on with a left hind leg, that's their pushing hind leg. So at some point it seems like when you're stretching to both sides that the right hind leg is more easy. Then you thought always the left side was more easy. And that is because at some point he will stretch to the left and to the right, and that goes more easily. But then you reach that pushing hind leg, and then that will be your problem and not the bending of the horse anymore. But that's a little bit too much detail perhaps. Let's switch over to the symptoms of the asymmetric hind legs. So I was talking about a crooked pelvis, and with a pushing hind leg it's not so easy to step under the point of weight. And a left bended horse with a pushing hind leg, the pushing hind leg is a lot of times next to the horse, next to his body, and he will show much easier a quarter into the left than a quarter into the right. So when you have difficulties with this exercise, the haunches in or the quarter in, that you wonder why is he doing it to the left so easy and not so easy to the right. Yeah, because his natural shape is a kind of quarter in with a left bended horse to the left, and the right bended horse has a kind of quarter in shape to the right. Well, then we have another asymmetrical thing from a horse, and that is that his forehand is much smaller than the hindquarters. He's built that way. So we have to place the forehand correctly in front of the hindquarters. And when we just move like this, when we're on in the riding arena, on the track, on the wall, and we have his outside shoulder and outside leg on the same track, then we improve the natural asymmetry. So we have the symptoms like this, that he is sticking to the wall, and that it is not easy to turn him away from the wall because he's hanging on the wall. And a lot of riders do this. They just go with their horse along the wall and let their horses be hanging on the wall. But you have to, Steinbrecht is talking about a kind of plie, that you have the front legs more to the inside and a kind of shoulder fore. So here you see that the exercise shoulder fore, and shoulder in is the exercise that's coming next to that, that it's a very important exercise to straighten your horse, and not because it's in some level of the competition that you are going to do that exercise, but that you know why you are doing that exercise, that you think, okay, I need to place the front legs in front of the hind legs to make him more in balance and that he's not hanging on the wall. So don't go and sit on the horse and that he's some kind of transport vehicle. No, you don't let him transport you, but you have to ride him in a proper shape. These are some statical things. He is bended in his body, his weight is on the front legs more, he is left-handed in the front legs and right-handed, and he has unequal hind legs. So these four things, and his shoulders are not so big as his hips. So that's 5 things we have to deal with, and that is a fact. But in movement we will have some really important dimensions that can cause a lot of problems. Because let's have a look. What I am talking about is that we will have a diagonal imbalance and a vertical imbalance, and we have the upper underline will be distracted. And that's because the first 5 elements will work together in movement. So let's find out the diagonal balance. Because the horse is left bended in a kind of quarter-inch shape, and it's not with all left-bended horses like this, but in general, they have a kind of pushing left hind leg, but some left-bended horses have a right pushing hind leg. But you have to figure out yourself with your own horse. Every horse is unique, let me say that in particular. But imagine that this left-bended horse, for example, has a pushing left hind leg and is very right-handed. So then the weight will be pushed more to the right front leg. And you see on the picture here the horse, that he's in a trot, but he is standing on one front leg and that front leg is very much under his point of weight. So he did that. That leg is because of the weight. It takes a while that he can lift that leg. So he loses there the diagonal movement with the hind leg, and that's because that front leg carries so much weight. And you can see it especially also when you are walking on a circle, that a left-bended horse with a pushing left hind leg is falling on the inside shoulder when he's turning to the right. And you see a right-bended horse, to make it a little bit complicated for your brain, sorry, but a right-bended horse has a right pushing hind leg in this case, and he will fall through the outside shoulder, because that's his left leg is his leg with better coordination. So his point of weight will be more on the left shoulder, and he has the tendency to make the circle bigger and bigger and bigger. And the left horse has the tendency to make the circle smaller and smaller. When you're launching a horse, a lot of horses you have to do like this, because especially when they are in trot or canter, they are hanging on your launch because they make the circle bigger and bigger. And on the other hand, you cannot get rid of the horse because the horse is staying with you, and you can get him on a circle. So you cannot launch the horse on the other side. And that's typical, all these things together, the left-right-handedness in the front legs, in the hind legs, in the bending in the body, and then the horse starts to move, and then the biggest problem is the shifting of the center of mass to one of the front legs, and that is really a big problem. And the straightness training will help to solve that, because if you have the shifting of the center of mass in the body, that's also the law of gravity and the law of Newton or whatever, but the body will follow the center of mass. So if the center of mass is on the inside hind leg, then the horse will fall in. And when it's on the outside hind leg, the horse will fall through the outside shoulder on the circle. So that's really a thing. Okay, then what happens next, and everything hangs together. I split it now up in the categories just to explain things, but everything hangs together, and everything is unique for every horse. There's no horse the same, and some horses are more unequal than other horses, and some horses don't bother and have not so much problems with it. But here I have another thing, and that's the vertical imbalance. Because the shifting of the point of weight, the horse is falling on the shoulder and the horse will be not straight when you take a line through the body in proportion to the ground. And the symptoms of this is that the horse will accelerate, but you don't want it. But you are in the trot and the horse is going faster and faster and running and goes over in the canter, and then you cannot stop the horse anymore. And so the horse goes faster like a motorcycle, and the faster it goes, the more flat it will turn. And that's not easy to sit, so the rider is dealing with that symptom to sit on the other side of the horse. But that, it's a nice picture, but it's really a horrible thing for a horse when you compensate his vertical imbalance like this, because that creates a lot of tension in the back. Of course, it's normal that when the horse is hanging to this side, that you are going to hang to that side to make a straight line. Because if you are also going to do like this, the horse is falling and running. So yeah, you do like this, so the horse is hanging to this and you are going to do that, and then you can walk a straight line, but it's totally doing this to the back of the horse. So it's not a good idea to do that as a rider. And after the break I will show you what the solution is. And we are almost there. Hang on, just a few minutes and then we have a break. I'm talking always too much, I know. Because the lateral bending, the horizontal imbalance, the right-handedness in the front legs and the hind legs, the smaller shoulders than the hips, then because of these things in movement, we have a diagonal imbalance and a vertical imbalance, and then the horse gets tensed because when he loses his balance, he has to stiffen himself to carry you in this imbalanced way. So then, because he will stiffen himself, he will shorten his upper line and have a weak underline. And yeah, well, that's enormous, causes enormous problems. The horse will have a hard back, and because of that hard back, he will also be hard in the mouth, because he will pull with his strong back muscles in your hand. So that's a golden rule. A horse that is hard in the mouth is hard in the back, and it's not a mouth problem most of the cases, but a back problem. And the back problem is because of that the horse is not straight, and also we have back problems because the saddle is not okay, of course, but the horse has a hard back and is uncomfortable to sit in trot, and he does not want to stretch the neck because of the short back muscles. And here it's standing, he is hard in the mouth, and he will develop an under neck with a lot of muscles. And because of the horse is always in a state of alert, when you take a look at a horse in a pasture with his high head and neck, that is a horse that is alert. So the horse will also become nervous when riding, because you put him in a physical state. And the horse is then ready to flee, and he will be scared of everything. That you think, why, my horse is in the stable, such a cute, relaxed horse, and when I'm riding, he's scared of everything. And the problem could be this. Now, some horses are going to shake their heads of grinding their teeth because of the short muscles in the back. The blood circulation is not so well anymore, and then the coat of the horse. The horse can have long hair or not a shiny color. The horse can become very slow because it's not easy to walk with short muscles, but some horses are fleeing all the time and will be more running. Well, and because of the back problems, you can have tact problems, or that the horse is bridle lame and has irregular gait. The horse can always start in a fast canter, in a cross canter, and can develop short steps. Let me put this clear. It's a webinar about straightness training, but all the symptoms can have also another problem, of course, that there is a stone in the hoof, that's the problem, that he's crippled, or that the saddle is not okay, or that the teeth are not okay, or that what you're feeding the horse is the cause of the bad coat. So you have to consider everything, you know, just not think you have to have a holistic view on your horse. But okay, this is the straightness training webinar, so I'm looking with my straightness training glasses to the problems, but of course I know that you have to take into account other things too, because you have good hooves, good teeth. Without good feet, a horse cannot move either, of course. Let me summarize this for you, and I have a nice Dutch word here, onbalance, but it has to be in balance, of course. So we have lateral asymmetry, horizontal, vertical, diagonal, front legs, hind legs, fore, hind, under, upper line. We discussed all those 8 dimensions, and they are a little bit, I see now, in the wrong order, because number 4, 3 and 8 are a result in movement of the other things, but I explained that. So here's the conclusion. We have natural asymmetry, and that's not a problem for a horse, but it causes imbalance when we are riding a horse, and then we will get symptoms. And the solution is to catch the cause. I don't know if it's a good thing to say it like that, but I think you don't deal with the symptoms, don't make your stirrups shorter and things like that, but catch the cause. And if you have checked everything, teeth, hooves, feedings, stables and everything, and you have still problems, then it could be the natural asymmetry. And then your solution is straightness training. And I will have finally some results. Here is a horse. Here you see results of straightness training after 3 weeks. So this horse was really running. I think you have seen it. It is Alconchel, the horse, and the PRE. But he was not able to walk under the rider, and always fleeing. And you can see here that he's not stepping under the point of weight with the hind legs at all. But after 3 weeks in training, he was relaxed and he stepped in a forward down position. Well, and here we have results after 4 months of training, and that horse was very much on the front legs in the beginning, and after 4 months he was able to carry more with the hind legs. And this is a beautiful drawing of Ben Branderoep, the Grandmaster of the Academic Art of Riding from Denmark. And you can see on the drawing that the rider lets himself transport on the horse above, and the horse is more carrying the rider in a better way. In the picture at the bottom. Alright, well, here we have a result after 1 year of training. that the horse was in the beginning very much downhill, and after 1 year more uphill. And this is a result after 2 years of training. And that horse was also really sick. This is the knight from the Academic Art of Riding, Angela Remy, and she fixed this horse in 2 years from really not well to a very beautiful, balanced horse in the Piaffe. And then here I have my own horse, and I love this horse because he puts me on the track of the straightness training, because he was so much not in balance. That's my lovely maestro, and he was after 3 years of training so much stronger, and he could not canter in the beginning, but he has a lot of he has benefited a lot of the straightness training. So that was the first piece of the webinar. If you want to have the prize in the lottery, then be sure you will leave your name and email address and get the free ebook Academic Art of Riding, because then you're in, and then yeah, I have some great prizes I will tell you after the break for a few of you. So in the break we have now a break of 5 minutes, and then I come back and we dive into the 6 keys of straightness training. So hang on, take a break, I see you in 5 minutes.